This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Welcome to The Clash, where we take a Christian worldview and allow it to clash into the culture around us. I'm Jeff Dixon, and I am one of your hosts, but the real host that you guys tune in to see each week is the guy sitting next to me, former professional wrestler, taking the mask off for this event. We appreciate it. He is the Saint, and he is none other than Chris Whaley. Chris, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, Jeff, and really excited about today. You know, we have interviewed some of the greatest, some of the most well-known professional wrestlers in the world, and thankful that I've had those connections that we could do that. But we're going to go off ramp today, because today we are pleased to have an unbelievable guest. Now, I have an opportunity to travel outside the state. You also have that opportunity. And whenever I'm at one of those autograph signing things or pictures, whatever, and people come up and talk to me, they'll say, "Now, where do you live?" And I say, "Well, I live in the Orlando area in Florida." Undoubtedly, Jeff, I'm not talking one, but I'm talking several of those people will say, "Hey, I love your governor, and I love that sheriff. What's his name?" And I'll say, "Grady Judd." "Yeah, I love that guy." And so that's who we have today. We have America's sheriff, Grady Judd. And I'm going to let you start it off, Jeff.
Okay, well, Sheriff, thank you for joining us. I don't even know what to say. I mean, we're just excited that you're here, and you really are America's sheriff. I guess I'm wondering up front. I mean, where did that come from? I mean, how did that happen? How did you end up stepping into the, I guess, national spotlight for what you're doing there in Polk County?
Well, I think the media is the one that ended up calling me America's sheriff. And I think every community believes their sheriff is America's sheriff. And I truly wear that with a badge of honor, with a lot of pride. And I am honored to be able to represent the other sheriffs who do a really, really good job in every county and every state in this union. So I appreciate the opportunity of being with you today.
Oh, thanks.
Well, if you don't mind, and you probably get this a lot, Sheriff Judd, I remember an incident, sad incident, where one of your deputies and I think a canine dog also were murdered by an individual, and you guys caught him out in the woods. And there was I guess, a liberal media person that asked you a question. And is it okay to you take over that spot and tell me what took place?
Sure. Here's what occurred. We had a deputy that simply stopped a man for speeding on West 10th Street in Lakeland. It was a minor event. And once the deputy made the traffic stop, he saw that the man did not have a valid driver's license. So at that point in time, he starts running the gentleman on the computer. And the guy asked, "Am I going to be arrested?" And the deputy said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "Let me finish my work up here." He said, it's hot. It's summertime. I don't want to drive all the way to the jail. Well, what he was doing was he was buying some time for his backup deputy to arrive, because this was a big guy, and he looked like he was going to be a problem because of just his body language. So while the deputy walked back to the patrol car once again to look at his computer, the guy jumped out and ran. So immediately the deputy called for a backup and a canine. Well, the canine deputy and the backup deputy arrived, and the canine deputy, which was Matt Williams, and his canine DOG went into the woods looking for this guy. He broke and ran into an area of probably, I'm guessing, a couple hundred acres of heavily wooded area. Well, the backup deputy went in as in order to try to back up the canine who was in chasing the bad guy. So as they're going through the woods, this guy had taken a stealthful position and jumped up and shot and killed the canine. He shot and killed the canine handler, Deputy Williams, and he shot the backup deputy who did one of the original stops. So at that point in time, of course, we're sending all of our law enforcement officers there, and Lakeland police came out to assist us, and the suspect tried to get out of the perimeter and shot at two of the Lakeland police officers. Fortunately, he didn't hit them. So now he's killed the canine, killed the canine handler, and shot the backup. Well, we circle it. Nighttime comes. We have the place really, really boxed in tight. The next morning, we have SWAT teams from throughout Central Florida that arrived to assist us. And they were walking shoulder to shoulder through this very, very dense vegetation when all of a sudden we see a gun pop up from underneath a fallen tree, and the SWAT team shoots. And they killed the guy who not only pointed a gun at them, but pointed the dead deputy's gun at them. So, of course, the media, in their typical fashion, they got a copy of the medical examiner's report, and one of the reporters said, "Hey, why did you shoot this guy so much?" The medical examiner said, "You shot him 68 times. What would you tell the people that wondered why you shot him so many times?" And I simply said, "Well, I guess we ran out of bullets." And he laughed and said, "We're going to print that." And I said, "Well, go ahead and print it." It was actually the Orlando Sentinel newspaper when I first said it. I said, "But think about this. He's already shot and killed a canine, shot and killed the canine deputy, shot the backup deputy, shot at two Lakeland police officers." I explained all this, and I said, "We weren't taking any chances because we knew that you've got to have something wrong with you to do that. And then to point a handgun at a SWAT team, what did he think was going to happen?" Mm-hmm. Well, some people thought that boldness would be roundly criticized. Well, it was just the opposite. I got total support from the community. And of course, I've said it many times since then. And it goes like this: if you threaten my deputies, you point a gun at them, you try to stab them with a knife, you try to beat them with a baseball bat, we're going to shoot you. We're going to shoot you a lot. And that's what this community expects of us.
It is.
They expect us to support them and to protect them. And it's only a handful, a very small few people that think, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe that sheriff said that." Well, what we saw was that day, with all of the support from the community, and what I've seen every time that I've said that statement is, it's about time we've got somebody in an area of public trust that will stand up, defend us, tell the truth, and well, of course you're going to get shot at if you try to shoot the police. What do they think's going to happen?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and again, and that's, and you really do have the public trust, and that to me, again, we're Floridians here, so I mean, I'm always amazed at how quick people are to criticize those that have that responsibility. To me, it's a sacred responsibility what you do, and you are the first line of defense for the people you serve, but you represent, an entire community. I mean, that answer only makes sense.
Right.
And so I remember that quote though, and I remember the event as it unfolded.
Jeff, did you ever, in your wildest imagination, think that one day we would have this great TV show called The Clash, and you could actually buy T-shirts and stuff that had the Clash on. Did you ever think that?
Yeah, when I was 3 years old, I had a vision.
You did?
That was going to happen one day. No, I'm just kidding. I never thought about that. So.
Hey, it's just awesome, man. I mean, of course, the tagline, "Don't tap out."
Yeah.
On the hat.
Look at that.
Yeah. And then on the back of the hat, it's got the Clash. And I don't know, what you got?
Well, I've been sitting around thinking about, how could you think about the Clash 24 hours a day and at the same time hydrate?
Oh, wow.
Stuff right there. Look at there.
How awesome is that?
That's a mini tumbler right there.
Wow.
But you could get a coffee cup.
You know what? I need to get one of those to pour the coffee into it so it keeps it.
You also could get a mug though. If you're a mug guy, you can get a mug.
Yeah.
You get a big taller tumbler that you can walk around. And so when you're walking around drinking stuff with our logo on it, people say, "What is the Clash?" And they can tell you all about the TV show.
So you need to look at that little QR code down at the bottom of your screen, and you just get your camera, your phone out, you put it on camera, and you look at that, and a little thing will come up, and you touch that, takes you right to the store. It's so easy, even I can do it.
There you go. In the Bible, the church is called the body of Christ. Hopefully, you have a place that you call home when it comes to church. And hopefully you attend there, and hopefully you find a connection with other people. But also, we live in a world where we are connected digitally. And online, you're more than welcome to come visit the church at 434. That's where Chris Whaley and I are part of that staff. The website, touchandchange.net, touchandchange.net. Use the QR code to get there. You'll find all sorts of resources that will help you in your journey of faith. We look forward to seeing you at the church at 434. I had heard, and this may not be true, so certainly correct me if I'm wrong here. I heard, though, that your career started with Polk County. Is that correct?
Oh, it did. In 1972, when I was only 18 years of age. I graduated from high school in June, and Sheriff Monroe Brannon hired me as a dispatcher in July. I was too young to be a deputy, so he hired me as a dispatcher, and I've been with the sheriff's office ever since, and it's an honor. In fact, day before yesterday, I don't know when this is going to air, but on the 21st of July, I celebrated my 53rd year with the sheriff's office.
Wow. That's
well, and there's a piece of the story, and I didn't really completely understand it, though. At one point, though, you had to have, because you were so young, you had to have your dad's permission to buy ammunition? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, here's what occurred. Back in the day, you had to be 21 years of age to be legal. Well, we were sending young men to fight in Vietnam. They would come back from the war and say, look, we can go around the world to fight in the military to protect this country, but we can't come home, sit in a sports bar, drink a beer because we're not legal. If we're old enough to fight a war, we ought to be old enough to be legal. So during the time that I was then a young dispatcher, they changed the legal age from 21 to 18. And in Florida, you could be a deputy sheriff at the age of 19. Well, back in the day, it was a lot different than it is today. The sheriff's office did not issue firearms. They told you what they expected you to carry, but you had to go out and buy that and the ammunition for it yourself. Well, I wasn't old enough because still federal law said you had to be 21 to buy a handgun or to buy ammunition. So I had to send my dad out, or actually he went with me, and we bought a handgun and the appropriate ammunition so I could be a deputy sheriff in Polk County.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow. Well, Sheriff, I got to ask you this question. Do you think that fatherless homes are the biggest contributors to creating criminals today?
I think it has a great deal to do with that. And I see mothers who do a really, really good job of raising children, but I want you to focus on this. There's not the father in the home, what I call the alpha in the home, to teach young boys right from wrong. And moms working from can to cane to try to make ends meet, because in these types of environment, The guy's so sorry he's not paying child support. So she's finding herself having to be away from home just to put a roof over their head and food on the table. And so many times the child is having to raise themselves, or the streets are raising them. So when you have a fatherless home, certainly you create statistical probability increases that that child is going to be wayward or have the opportunity to be wayward. Now, that's not an absolute. I see wonderful people, wonderful children, wonderful young men come out of single family homes. But I do know this, if there's going to be a proclivity for a young man to do something wrong or go the wrong way, and there's no strong hand by a father to keep him in line at home, things don't get better.
Right.
I see. Go ahead. Over the years, I mean, again, you've had a long career there. Where you're at, has there been any encounter that you've had that really that just kind of sticks with you and is one of those things you carry with you? It kind of reminds you every day of why you do what you do. I mean, I know you interact with folks all the time, but are there a couple, one that stands out above the rest?
Well, I don't think there's one that really stands out above the rest. There are literally, as long as I've been in the business, thousands of them.
Okay.
And most of them circle around the abuse and neglect of children. And one of them, when I was a major at that particular time, in charge of the West region, as we called it, we had the vicious sexual battery of a 12-year-old little girl, Kimberly Waters. And then he murdered her and threw her in a Dempsey dumpster. Well, we found her in the Dempsey dumpster. We saw just horrible injuries on this young child. And that's things that you can't unsee.
Yeah.
But our pledge was that we will absolutely find out who did this and hold them accountable. Well, after a period of time, we located the suspect. We arrested him. Ultimately, he went to trial and was given the death penalty. And really, decades later, much too later, he was to be executed. Well, the deputy who found him on that particular day was then a captain when the execution was to come. And I was a major at the time and the sheriff when the execution was to come. So the captain and I went to the Florida State Prison to watch him be executed for that horrible sexual battery and vicious murder of a beautiful young lady. So that one stands out to me.
Yeah.
But there's literally thousands of them that we can't unsee. And it's our job to bring justice and as much peace and comfort as possible to the family and friends when people have been victimized. I take that as an honor. And I truly believe God intended for this to be my mission field. And I am trying my best to fulfill God's mandate for me to serve those that are less fortunate and help those in need and distress. And now as a sheriff, I do that by coaching and mentoring and hiring the most wonderful young men and women in the world that are willing to put their life on the line so that we can live in a safe, peaceful society. And as a result, our crime rate is at a 53-year low here.
Wow. Yeah, I saw something, an article last week that the crime rate in Polk County is down almost 25%, as opposed to all of the influx of New Yorkers that have moved into Polk County.
We've had 135,000 people move here in about the last 4 years, 5 years. And despite 135,000 people moving here, we've continued to see our crime go down. And that's because we create a partnership. We trust the community and the community trusts us back. And when you have a healthy respect for your community and they have a healthy respect for you, then we all work together. And I've got a board of county commissioners that make their first priority safety and security. And our board of county commissioners are tremendous. And their attitude is simply this: if we create a safe community, if we create a community people want to live in, they will thrive. They'll bring their business here. They'll start new businesses. They will work hard and not be afraid to go to public parks or to engage their children in public events. And that's what we have in this county. So good things don't just happen. Good people make good things happen. And our county commissioners are good people. They appropriately fund us. We go out and serve the community, and the community interacts and helps us. And that's why we're so successful here.
That's great. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm just thinking to myself, you have been there for a while. You have the respect of the community. How in the world are you able to balance being America's sheriff, a high-profile sheriff, and on the backside, when you look at your bio a little bit, you know that you're a husband, you got a couple sons, you got a slew of grandkids. I mean, how does that all balance out when you're papa to a bunch of grandkids and also you're America's sheriff? What does that look like in your household?
Well, really, it doesn't balance well at all. I am addicted to this job. I really am. And I give all the credit to Marisa. You know Marisa, you went to high school with her. Mm-hmm. She is a saint.
Okay.
She has accepted the craziness of this job because there's no set pattern. I work nights, I work weekends, and it's always been that way. So she is really the anchor of our family. I tell everyone she just is gracious enough. She lets me continue to be part of it. We've raised two wonderful boys who work hard, and we have 13 grandchildren.
Wow.
And I literally calendar their events like I calendar appointments. Or if we're going to have the grandchildren, or Marisa says, hey, we're going to have a lake party this weekend, and you're going to be there, big boy. Then I do exactly what the boss at home tells me to do.
That's right.
But it's and to me that's a good thing too, Chris, because Marissa went to Auburndale High School. I went to Lakeland High School. I worked nights and weekend for an ambulance company out of Lakeland, and they had a Winter Haven office. And on the weekend, they would send me to Winter Haven to work. Well, I met Marisa at the ambulance company in Winter Haven. We should have never crossed paths back in the day. I mean, Lakeland, Auburndale, Winter Haven were separate cities. Yeah. But the good Lord led us together, and I believe that from the bottom of my heart. And she's been my best buddy forever. And in fact, this is how crazy this is. We were engaged to be married in high school. Now, that's just out of control, isn't it? Yeah. And we laugh about it to this day. So when I think about it, and I believe this has just been God's plan for our life. We have grown together instead of growing apart. And as you know, when you're our age, Chris, you're not the same person you were when you were 50 or 40 or 30 or 20. But we've grown together. And she gets all of the credit for keeping the household in balance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling my wife Verna about you guys. I didn't realize that you guys got married in 1972, the year that we graduated from high school. And I was telling my wife about that. And of course, we got married in 75. And I said, can you imagine us getting married right out of high school? And she said, absolutely not. You wouldn't have made it.
Well, I tell folks, do you know why I married Marisa when she was 18? And they go, no, why? I said, well, if she'd have grown up a few years, she'd have never had me. I wanted to marry her why I had her tricked and fooled.
Yeah.
And the reality is she married an 18-year-old kid from South Cumbie Road. And quite frankly, with her and the good Lord and a lot of hard work, she was able to grow me up.
I love hearing from our listeners. I have a website called themaskedsaint.com, and I get people telling me things about the old wrestling days. I love to hear from them. I'm on Facebook, I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, and I just never get tired of listening to people. And if you have not read The Masked Saint, I have that available on my website. I have the Christmas book, Harold's Heavenly Christmas. I have the last book that I wrote with a wrestling buddy called Mr. President. Pictures whenever I was still in good shape. I have those available along with T-shirts, anything, but most of all, just love to hear from you.
Hi, during this short break, I want to give you a chance to get to know Chris Whaley just a little bit better. Chris, who's the most famous person or one of the most famous people you've ever met?
One of the most famous people I've ever met was The Rock. Of course, his name is Dwayne Johnson, but I was in a dressing room and I was going to wrestle that night, and in walked Rocky Johnson and Dwayne. And I was talking to Dwayne, what are you going to do with your life? And he said he was going to be a wrestler. And I never made a lot of money in wrestling. And I said, you're an idiot. You don't want to wrestle. You want to play football. You make millions of dollars. He says, no, I'm going to be a wrestler like my dad. I said, you're an idiot. And then the next year he went to the WWF and he made $6 million, wrote a book, it became a bestseller, and now he is the #1 box office star in the world. So it's a good thing he didn't listen to my advice.
And if you want good advice like that to how to live your life, contact us. This is Chris Whaley.
Hey, welcome back. I mean, this has just been an awesome time of hearing stories, hearing about the life of America's Sheriff Grady Judd. Did you enjoy it, Jeff?
It has been fun, a lot of fun. And, and really, if you think about it, really insightful because, again, we catch news snippets, we see headlines, but, the desire of this show is to kind of, allow faith to kind of clash into the real world. And so this conversation has really allowed us to kind of peel back the layers a little bit, get to know his heart, personality. What a great guy.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I tell you what, this one has been so much fun. I think we should do another episode with him.
That would be awesome.
So, while we could, this one we've talked to and introduced folks to America's Sheriff, I think maybe the next episode can be like God's Sheriff because, again, there's the faith that he has and how that faith impacts his calling. And it is a calling that he has as sheriff, and he's explained that. I think that's worth another episode, if it's okay with you.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Do you have more questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
you've got some more, don't you?
Oh, I can wing them. Yeah, we're good to go. So I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for that. That's going to be super. And listen, make sure you come back and watch that next episode because you're gonna love it. And I hope you have a great week. And don't tap out.
A lot of folks then made a rededication when they were in their teens or maybe early 20s because they weren't sure, did they really understand at 9 years old? Well, there was no doubt in my mind then, and there's no doubt in my mind now that I am a Christian, that Jesus forgave my sins and forgives my sins and accepted me. Because
what do you see on the horizon as changes for you and law enforcement and kind of where our culture seems to be going? What do you see as the difficulties are on the horizon for us?
But if we successfully allow evil people to quiet the Christians, the Jews, the people of the different houses of faith, if we ever allow our faith to be put on a shelf, then guess what? The evil non-believers that want to create communist, socialist communities will prevail.